This is Back to the Bassline. I'm here with Matt Santos from the band RA RA RIOT. He is the bass player, and we talk about basses because that's what we do. My name is Sid Butler, and thank you very much for listening. Matt, welcome to Back to the Bassline.
Thank you very much for having me.
You play bass in the band RA RA RIOT, and you have a violin player. You have 5 people in your band. Is that hard to compete with all those instruments as a bass? Do you find a voice in your bass playing with the band?
Yeah, that's a good question because a lot of our arrangements are pretty dense. And I think early on, we just all got thrown into a room together without a plan. And a lot of our earlier songs is sort of all of us playing all the time, all at once, every part of every song. But it's fun because there's so much going on, and there's also a cello too, which is obviously kind of closely related.
I forgot about the cello.
But,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. We can edit that out.
You're close with the cello player, as I recall.
I was, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So a cool thing about the band was that we sort of arranged all the songs like, in the room, just sort of like riffing together. So it wasn't like the kind of thing where like the guitar or like a keyboard would be holding down the chords. It was all these individual lines. And we sort of developed, a relationship where we all sort of danced around each other a lot, which is really cool. And there's a lot going on, but it also afforded a lot of opportunities to do things that, maybe could normally be done on bass, or like there wasn't really a defined role, so to speak.
Do you have a bass player that you liked growing up? Was there someone that you looked up to as a bass player? Why the bass is sort of a question I always ask. Who are your bass heroes?
Well, there are a few. I think my favorites are Sir Paul, of course.
Jenkins.
Sir Paul Jenkins.
From Oklahoma City.
Paul, Paul's sense of melody, just super, just super positive, celebratory, just bouncing all over the place, coloring things in a lot. Sting, I love a lot for his feel and his also weird colorings.
Do you like Sting from The Police, his current stuff? Does it matter to you?
I skew a little more towards the Police part of his career. But, I didn't get to see his musical last year. What was it? What was it called?
The Sea Captain?
Something about the ship.
The Shanty?
The Shanty. The Sea Shanty. But, Sting I like a lot. I think an early bass
like
player.
A rapper. Stingling.
Stingling.
Kid story.
Yeah, have you heard of it?
Stingling a lot.
Stingling a lot's bass lines are cool. Adam Clayton, I think I got into early because he's, his bass lines are just so, like, right there.
And if you don't know who he is, he's the bass player of U2.
That's right. And then more recently, I finally came around and got into Jocko, as every bass player does at some point, I imagine.
An ignorant Jocko. Who's Jocko?
Jocko Pastorius of Weather Report fame. But he's one of those guys when, like, I was playing bass through high school and college, and people who were either like music students or like or hippies would come up to me and be like, "Oh, you like bass? You like Jocko?" And I was like, "Who's that guy?" Some like jam band guy.
Right.
And then it wasn't until years later, where just one day I was in a Newberry Comics, and I saw the Jocko Pastorius, his first solo album, and I was like, maybe it's time I find out what this guy's about, and that was life changing. So, yeah, there's things from all those guys that are very important to me. But as far as your question of why bass, I sort of got into bass from that classic thing where, like, my best friend growing up was a drummer, and his buddy was a guitarist, so they were like, let's start a band. You can figure out bass, it's got 4 strings. Right. But I think it was sort of the instrument I was always meant to get to anyway.
So did you feel insulted that your friend said it's only 4 strings? Dum-dum, here's a bass player. You can figure this out?
I think I was just excited to be a part of the band. And I mean, I really wanted to be the drummer, but that was already taken. So, I was going to take what I could get at that point. But I think right around that time, the timing kind of worked out too, because that was also, I was deep into a peanut phase.
Do you like peanuts? Are you allergies and stuff?
The peanut, the bass player of 311.
Oh, okay.
I've always liked peanuts, the food. But at that point in my life, I was very much into 311, and so I was like, oh, that's the thing that Peanut plays. I can do that, and I can jump around like him. Yeah.
What are your feelings on like slapping and popping on the bass?
There's a little bit of that is, I like it. I'm not really a good slapper, but I like some random pops. Again, Adam Clayton is great at just throwing a couple of pops in there.
Right.
I think Unforgettable Fire has like just one moment right in the intro. Never happens again, but it sticks with you. There's some popping on our new record.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
I heard you have a new record coming out, but I'm not supposed to mention it. But I'm doing it anyway because when this podcast comes out, the record would have been announced. So
that's
I think
right.
We're safe.
Just want all the listeners to know at this time what we're talking about is
future records,
highly classified.
Yes, Double Secret, 007. It comes out when the new 007 movie comes out.
Oh really?
No, I'm making that up.
Oh, we should do some kind of tie-in.
We should, with McDonald's too.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you, as a bass player, what are your thoughts on bass outfits?
Bass outfits, you mean like...
Do you wear shorts, sandals? I feel insulted personally when I see a bass player in Tevas and shorts. I get some sort of violent testosterone, like I turn into the Hulk and I want to jump out on stage and slap them and then call their mother and say, what is wrong with your raising of your child that he thought that bass players can do this? But there are bass players that do that. But when a band's like, why are we not successful? I usually look at the bass player and say, because the bass player that has to be so awesome that like Flea or Adam Clayton or Sting, people go, oh my God, he's the best. Or they sort of blend into the drums.
Yeah, just kind of stand in the back, maybe face away from the crowd or something.
Yeah, you can't sort of stick out a little bit. Yeah,
definitely sandals are a definite no.
Right.
I don't think there's a single circumstance I could think of where that would be okay. Shorts, I've worn shorts on stage maybe once or twice. It was an outdoor show in the summer, sort of a health issue at that point. But it's tough. We always we always talk about in the band, we're like, well, we need to present ourselves a little nicer on stage because we kind of just always look like schlubs. But, I just like playing in jeans and a t-shirt,
Right.
The less you have going on up here, the more you can focus on the...
Matt was just gesturing towards his genitals, so I just wanted everyone to know that.
That's where the bass comes from.
Right, exactly.
This area. But I mean, if I had complete control over a bass outfit, I think this might segue into something else, another passion that we share. But I would love to have just a hockey jersey of whatever city I'm in, except probably Philadelphia or Montreal. Sorry, but
no, I don't. I have half of that. I agree with.
Yeah, and so yeah, maybe a nice hockey jersey, skinny pair of slacks, and some nice, comfortable sneakers. That's another thing, sneakers too. A lot of people, dress up on stage or whatever, and they're like, oh, you wear sneakers on stage. I'm like, well, yeah, it's comfortable. You jump around, you run around. And I've toured with bands before that they've given it a try at a show, and they're like, wow, this changes everything. I feel like, I'm doing something much more active. So definitely sneakers are an important part. And speaking of fashion too, one of my fashion icons, Jerry Seinfeld, once said that he wears sneakers to remind himself he doesn't have a real job. And
I like that.
That really resonated with me. So
I like Jerry Seinfeld.
Me too.
I think he's a good egg.
He is.
I think he's a good egg.
He is, and he really, really cares about his craft.
I would think so, and meditating.
He's
really into meditation, which I suggest. Do you have a bass that you like? Are you a Fender guy? Are you a Gibson grabber? Are you a Rickenbacker?
I'm a Fender guy all the way. My first bass actually looked just like this one. It was a Squier P bass, but all Fenders all the time, forever. I recently just got the Tony Franklin model P bass. It's got a jazz bass pickup, it's got a little switch. So it's
nice.
like best of both worlds.
Does it turn off and on? What does the switch do?
The switch, like you can switch between the pickups.
Okay,
like
cool.
like a Strat or something,
Right.
as opposed to messing around with knobs again, gesturing out here. But yeah, just P bass forever. And I have actually the Sting model P bass was maybe one of my favorite basses of all time. I still have it, and I don't tour with it anymore, but I still record with it a lot because it sounds phenomenal. Flat wounds only too for me. But my Sting P bass, I sanded it and stripped it and painted it bright yellow. Again, Adam Clayton's coming up as an homage to his Pop Mart bass. So it's
Right.
kind of like combining some of my different favorite bass players into one instrument. But I always wanted a Rickenbacker, and I thought that was like my dream bass for years, especially because of Macca and his like Rick tones and like late Beatles and Wings stuff. And I finally saved up like way too much money and like splurged on this really nice Rick. And no offense to the good people at Rickenbacker, but it just wasn't for me. And then I was trying to sell it for like 2 years, and and it was also yellow. It was a bright yellow Rickenbacker. So everyone was like, "Well, I want a Rick, but it's completely yellow." So it was
I think if you're in a pop punk band, the Rick is a great choice. But I don't know if it's. I can't. None of my jazz bass friends are like, "Oh, I can't wait to play my Rick." Mm-hmm. And then all the sort of classic rock guys are like, "Oh, I can't play my Rick." But every pop punk band, I'm like, "Oh, the Rick sounds great."
Mm-hmm. It's just gnarly.
It's
it's a little gnarly. Because I don't know how Paul gets those tones anyway. I tried everything. I tried like the muting, the fill, like the palm mute.
Right.
Just he's got that touch. But yeah, just wasn't for me. Like Fender's P bass forever.
And who were some of your favorite bands growing up?
Well,
and you're from Pittsburgh, I think.
I'm from outside Boston. Well, I'm from Massachusetts.
Oh my! We'll have to edit that out.
I hope you weren't insinuating that I could be a Penguins fan.
No, I just got confused for a split second. But yeah, hating Montreal from Boston makes total sense.
Yeah. But growing up, I mean, I think I had different people I came across at different times. Like I think, like I was mentioning before with Peanut, 311 was like one of the first bands that I was like super into, but also aware of what the bass was doing. And so I think that was pretty influential. And I got into U2 around the same time.
Did you have a favorite U2 song or record or?
Well, strangely, the first U2 record I got into was Pop, which is awesome.
That is strange. I mean,
it's very strange. I had like the greatest hits 80s to 90s one too, which was important. But Pop was the one I was like really obsessed with. And that has some great bass lines on it. But I think what's that song on Boy? It's the one with like the Gaelic title and cat dub. I don't know how to say it. I don't speak that, but that has a really great bass line. And I remember getting into Bullet the Blue Sky a lot too. And I worked my way back to Joshua Tree.
With RA RA RIOT, do you have a song that every time you play, like, oh, this bass line that I wrote, it's just, I connect to it every time you play?
Yeah, there's
I'm sorry to interrupt, but like with Let's Celebrate 5, I'd be like, oh, I'd always want to put certain songs on the set list was because I knew that I would connect to the show better. I would I'd be more present in the show and be more exciting. And I would always fight with my bandmates because they're like, no, I hate that song. Or that song stinks. I'm like, no, the bass line is so important to me.
That's all the people care about in the crowd. You'll see.
Yeah. And then we get in these stupid squabbles because Seth is like, no, my guitar line isn't good on that song. Or I'm so tired of playing that. Or Tim would be like, I remember the lyrics for that song. And so that we'd had this sort of irritating set list fight.
There you go, fans. It's always the uptight guitarist keeping the great bass lines away from the crowd.
That's right.
The bass lines everyone wants to hear.
But
yeah, there's definitely a few. There's like some, like the deeper cut songs that you don't really need to play, but like have sometimes more fun bass lines, a little more off the rails because, I'm allowed a little more freedom in some of these like deeper songs. So there's like, a song called Kansai from our second record that I love playing. There's a song called That Much from our third record called Beta Love. That song is really fun.
Some of the bass lines? I was kidding.
It's those are really fun to play, but we like hardly play those songs. But I guess one of our more successful songs is a song called Boy, and that is a song we play every show, and we'll probably play every show forever. And we've, done TV performances of it before, and that one's really fun because the bass line. Well, Wes, our singer, wrote that song. excuse me, on this like old Casio toy keyboard that he writes a lot of music on, and so he was just changing the chords, with his left hand, and it was some glitchy arpeggiator thing going on. And so the bass line was kind of like arrhythmic and didn't really make sense. It wasn't changing at the same time every time. It was just kind of like and it became such a cool part of the demo, and I was like, no, there should be a way to humanize that. And I kind of wanted to learn this weird broken bass line, so I sort of humanized it a little bit and brought it into the live band realm, but it still has this kind of weird, inhuman, herky-jerky quality. But yeah, so that's always a fun one to play, definitely.
Awesome. Do you have any bass jokes?
Oh, yeah. There was one. I don't want to ruin this because it's a good one. I don't know. What does a divorce lawyer and a fretless bass have in common? Something like that.
I don't know.
And everyone's relieved when the case is closed.
Right. Nice.
Is that good? That's pretty good.
That's good. One of my favorites is, what does the bass player do after the show? Who cares?
Are you going to put some sad sound effects in?
I will. I'll have to get a bass going. Or sort of.
Yeah, I was wondering if there's going to be a part of the podcast where we both sit across from each other like this, but both have basses and do a little trade in some fours.
We could.
Maybe I could come back.
We need more time. Yeah, that's a different show. That's called Dueling Bass Egos. Matt, thank you so much for being on my show.
Absolutely. It's a great honor.
And we're very happy for all your success, and keep playing the bass, please.
I will. That's the only thing I wanna do.
It's a cruel mistress.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening. This is Back to the Bassline. And my special guest today has been Matt Santos from the band RA RA RIOT. Thank you so much.
Cool. Cut.